and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and I wanted to welcome all of you to another installment of Monologue Monday here on my YouTube channel. If you happen to be a returning viewer to this series on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for tuning back in. I hope you've been able to take away some good information from my previous Monologue Monday episodes, and I hope the same goes for this episode as well. With that being said, let's get into this episode of Monologue Monday. So for this episode of Monologue Monday, as the title suggests, is essentially all about getting out of your comfort zone, right? And going for things and chasing things that are normally not in your expertise or your wheelhouse, whatever you want to call it, and how taking on these types of new endeavors can be beneficial for you not only in current times but in the future as well. I think it's really easy for a lot of people to kind of get in their own groove, right? Their routine, and as you guys know, I really do like routines as well. Routines are fundamental, I think, in life and in finance. But I think a lot of people just will spend years doing exactly the same thing because it works, right? And it's not if their life isn't absolutely terrible, they just kind of keep doing that same thing. And I think that's okay, right? I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with that mindset or that process, but I think it really holds a lot of people back from new experiences, new skills, potentially new incomes, right? Is a big one that I'm going to kind of talk about in this video. But just generally speaking, it holds you back from a lot of experiences that you might have had you kind of jumped away from your routine for just a little bit, perhaps, or jumped out of your comfort zone for certain events or certain lessons or skills or whatever it may be. The list goes on and on and on. But that's kind of how I feel about a lot of normal individuals, and how I think a lot of people just don't generally tend to get out of their comfort zone and do things that they've never done before. So what I want to do is I want to mention, or I want to chat about three disparate examples of how I personally have really gone out of my way to do something that I have never done before, and how it's really only benefited me in the last 3-4 years or so. So one of the first examples that I want to give to you right now is basically where I'm located right now, which is in Austin, Texas. And although the reason for my travel out here was different from what I'm doing right now. In essence, I initially moved out to Austin shortly after graduation, about 6 to 8 months after graduation, because I wanted to continue my education with graduate school here at the University of Texas at Austin. And that is something that I have since decided against, obviously, but that was my reasoning for coming out here and, being in a new city, being in a new state, and taking on a different endeavor, which I thought was a good reason to move for sure. But doing or taking that initiative to come out here on my own, really not knowing anybody, not having any family to lean on if things were to go south, moving into an apartment that I had never seen, taking a job that I had never seen the building or anything like that, is definitely something that was very foreign to me at the time, and this was a fresh graduate, and I didn't go out of state for college or anything like that either. So I, for the most part, have been in my local city for the majority of my life. So coming out, going across the country, to take on, what I thought at the time was, graduate school, and obviously that's not the case right now, was a huge risk, and it was something that I still think back on to this day, and how my life would be so different in the wrong way if I hadn't done so. The second example that I want to share with you essentially happened after I moved, shortly after I moved to Austin. So everything kind of stems, and you'll notice this as I ramble here, but everything stems from that initial move to Austin, or that initial risk, or that initial jump out of my comfort zone. But the second thing that came about was essentially picking up a sport that I had never even really thought about playing, and how it's basically really changed my life for the better, and that of course is tennis. So shortly after moving to Austin, I found myself getting very bored of the day in and day out, going to the gym or maybe running or whatever it may be. It became so monotonous for me because I had been doing it for so long throughout high school and college that it didn't feel like it was giving me anything anymore, just staying in shape. But there's other ways to stay in shape. So what I did was I found, I took kind of a liking to tennis, and I went all in on it, right? So I purchased gear, I purchased a ball machine, which is not something that many people have, but it was my way of basically practicing. So I bought this ball machine. I bought, hundreds of balls, and I would wake up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning in the middle of the summer, as much as I could, and I would go to the court and I would hit balls for 2 or 3 hours at the minimum. And I did this over and over and over again, in the hopes that after getting to a point where I was comfortable, I would start playing with people, and I would just keep progressing. And I'm very happy to say that has paid off. That has paid off in full. And I do want to mention that throughout this period of learning, essentially coaching myself, utilizing, the ball machine that I had and videos online and so on, I didn't have a coach, right? I didn't consult anybody or anything like that. It was all self-paced, right? So it was a huge learning experience to really try to pick things up on your own without someone telling you that you're doing something wrong or that you could be doing something better. And after doing it for quite some time, I eventually started playing with people, right? Hitting with people, which was a entirely new experience, and obviously difficult at first, but I eventually got to where I am now, which is, I have my own stringer, which you can see in the background. So I string my rackets, other people's rackets. I play at a country club with friends that I've met here, and I play pretty competitively, right? And an example that I want to share happened about 2 years ago. So I'm at a very different point in my skill than I was 2 years ago. But I essentially played with someone who played on the juniors tour, right, which is generally people that are very serious about tennis, and then they played at a D1 school and so on. And after we got done playing, the conversation came up about how long I had been playing and so on, and the individual at the time had thought that I had been playing for about a decade, whereas at the point it was about a year and a half into playing. So that just goes to show that if you really commit to something, if you really put your mind to something and practice it day in and day out, even on your own, you don't necessarily need a coach like in my case. You can get pretty good, at whatever endeavor it is. And one additional comment that I want to add is it wasn't just about getting good at something. Obviously, that played a part, but it was something that I needed to chase because I needed a way to get my endorphins going again, right? Get me out of where I was normally, jumping out of my comfort zone. And I can confidently say that without doing that, if I hadn't done that, I really don't know what I would be doing, to take my mind away from work and all of the other mentally high mental capacity tasks that we all have throughout our life. When I get on a court, no matter how intense the match is, I'm never really stressed, right? It's always a good feeling. I never leave a court really feeling bad. So it is an absolute essential part of my life at this current point. And the third and final example that I want to leave you all with today is essentially what I'm doing right now, why I'm standing or sitting in this case in front of this camera, talking about finance and talking about myself and trying to get you to understand how I basically look at the world from multiple perspectives, finance and from my personal side as well. And this, of course, is essentially starting AFA, ARC Financial Analysis, the personal finance and budgeting company that I've basically founded, as well as creating my YouTube channel to post content about different things within personal finance, budgeting, and overall my opinions on how lifestyle and finance kind of blend together and how it can play important roles on our long-term future. Starting with creating ARC Financial Analysis, it was not something that I ever really expected to do. just because it was at the time so foreign to me. I don't have a formal business education or anything like that. Frankly, now at this point, I don't know if I really need one. But I, went out of my way to create a process that I thought would benefit, many people as it had benefited myself and friends and so on around me, close people around me. And I felt good providing it. And if you can come up with something that you intrinsically believe is a good service that many people are going to benefit from, and you enjoy doing it, you get enjoyment out of providing it, I think you have a pretty decent idea on your hand whether it fails or whether it succeeds. So the creation of the company and putting myself out there for to help people was something that, like I said, I had never really envisioned doing, but I'm so happy that I did. And that goes hand in hand with what I'm doing in front of the camera right now, creating content where I didn't really think that I would have a YouTube channel, let alone one that, talks about personal finance and lifestyle, and how, like I said, how they lifestyle and finance blend together. And I want to get into a few other endeavors here on my YouTube channel as well in the upcoming weeks, which I'm very excited about as well. But I never thought I'd have that, right? I never thought I'd be putting myself out there essentially for the world, if they want to, if the world wants to watch it, to see me, right? To see my content, to open myself up to criticism and so on. And thankfully, everything has been positive thus far, so I'm very happy about that. But it's not something that was in my scope, right? But taking the chance, right? And like I said, it goes hand in hand with my company. So I created the company, which was already a big task, but then I wanted to complement it with this kind of content. So naturally, I needed to get a camera, make sure I had a sufficient editing system. I needed a mic, I needed lights, and I needed all of these types of things to take on this endeavor. But it's made me, it's augmented my personal skill set in so many different ways that I'm so happy that I did it. So I'm so happy that I'm able to sit in front of the camera and talk to you, the viewers, right now. So there you have it. That is my list of 3 experiences or endeavors or instances, whatever you want to call it, where I have really jumped out of my own comfort zone, my wheelhouse, to take on something new, to take on something that I had never done before, that I had very little experience in, and how it's really benefited me, not only right now, but I think it's going to benefit me in the long run as well. So I hope you can learn from my experience here as well. And next time there's an opportunity that presents itself in front of you to jump out of your comfort zone, right? To take on a new risk, a new task, a new experience, you take that chance, right? And hopefully, like me in these 3 examples, they benefit you for the long run as well. But of course, I want to hear from my viewers as well. Has there been any instance where you've really put yourself out there, or you've taken on some kind of task that you've never done before that has really benefited you? Please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them. And of course, if you have any questions for me personally, or if you'd like to take a look at the financial services that I can provide to you, I've left my email and a link to my company website in the description box below. As always, thank you so much for your time today, and of course, happy financing.